So while Sri Lanka has decided to temporarily ban the niqab or the scar or the veil that covers the face, preventing the police from recognizing people, back home in India, the Shiv Sena has suggested, and I quote, that while in Ravan, Sri Lanka has banned the niqab, Ram's India should also follow. Basically says that while the Prime Minister Narendra Modi is contesting out of Varanasi, he should also in this country ban the burqa. It brings us to ask a very important question. Is this really grandstanding for an election? And is it at all valid to suggest, that the burqa or the veil is standing in the way of national security? If that is true, we have to ask a couple of more questions. Question number one. Isn't it really RDX that causes bomb blasts and results in bomb blasts? And isn't that what the government should be looking for and not burqas and hijabs? Second question, if covering the face is the problem, then what will we do with all of those other people who wrap up their faces because they're riding two-wheelers and they don't want sunburn and you can't recognize them anyway? Is this grandstanding for an election? Or is there any merit in suggesting that women covering their faces is a security threat? Is the security threat a valid reason for demanding a burqa ban? That's the question we're asking today on the show. With me, Dr. Zeenat Shaukat Ali is the Director General of the World Institute of Islamic Studies for Dialogue, Peace and Gender Justice. PL Vora is the former DGP who bring in the security angle. Fatima Muzaffar is a member of the AIM PLB, which is the All India Muslim Personal Law Board. She's the convener of the Federation of Tamil Nadu Muslim Women. We also have Kumar Aga as a defense expert and Geetha Bhatt, a political analyst. I welcome all of you to this conversation. It's always nice to see a panel where the women outnumber the men. So this is a nice panel to be part of. Thank you so much for joining us. I want to start with Mr. Vora, former DGP. Mr. Vora, straight up question. Is it necessary, in your opinion, to remove the veils? Are they a security threat?
Actually, the veil is a part of the Indian culture. The burqa, Indian women, Muslim women have been wearing it. So I don't think that it's wise at all, under any circumstances, to say that it should be banned. Having said that, in case of national security, if it is needed for certain individuals not to wear it or remove it, or a particular group on a particular place or a community, this has to be purely an exception and definitely not a rule. Also, the timing is very suspect. I think it's leading to polarization, and to talk of Ram and Ravan, I think is very, very unfortunate. Though Shiv Sena's chief later retracted what was published in Samna this morning, I think the damage has been done. And I think that under the Model Code of Conduct, publication of Samna should be prohibited till the last day of the voting, that's around 17th May or so. I think we have to be very, very strict. And where it is needed, of course, for national security, it should be done. See, having said that, you have hijab, you have niqab, you have chadar. Also, I have served in Kashmir, Northeast. People wear firan in Kashmir. Of course, some of them were having AK-47 below that, or in Nagaland and Manipur below the shawls. Where it is needed, definitely we had stopped people from wearing those things there. But to say that it should be banned totally, I think is a very, very wrong thing to say. That's polarization. It is hurting the sentiments of others. It's not fair at all.
Well, we're trying to get Kumar Aga back on the line, but Mr. Vora, here's my question. Normally, when we talk about anti-terror activity or security forces being able to function, isn't it largely about intelligence rather than the need to actually be able to see everyone's faces? Do you believe that?
It is.
So could you tell us what the difference is, and if you believe this is a valid argument?
Definitely, the intelligence is important, but many times it does happen that somebody can sneak through under a burqa. Even men can wear a burqa. We sometimes see in movies also people doing that, trying to be fool. So I think intelligence alone is not sufficient, especially when the whole body is covered. So at the airports and all, for example, or wherever the security consideration is, if it's a public meeting where a VIP is coming, I think there's no harm and people must cooperate, the ladies must cooperate to show their faces, no harm being done at all. So I think that intelligence, yes, but physical security also is important, and it should be, cooperation must be there from those who are asked to do that.
All right, that's a fair question, but I actually am going to take this question to Fatima Muzaffar. Women in hijab and burqa go through security at malls, at airports on a regular basis. They are frisked like everyone else in airport security. I don't believe that's the argument here. But I do want to understand from you, Ms. Muzaffar, what is your response to this? If, let's say, like Mr. Vora said, there is a special need to identify someone, or the police is looking for someone, do you then believe that it's valid to ask people to unmask their faces or to remove their veils?
Yeah, totally, Faye, I agree with you. I think for security reasons, people should cooperate. There's absolutely nothing wrong in cooperating with the security people to, show your identity. And I think it's fair enough, but if this is going too far and making it a political issue, asking for a ban on burqa, especially when half of India is still going through a political process, I think it's such it's a pathetic thing that they don't have any other issue to talk about and bring up a trivial issue like a burqa of a Muslim woman and make it an issue to talk about. That itself is really, I really condemn this, that the Shiv Sena is taking up this issue. They have so many other burning issues for them to talk about the security of women and so many other things about poverty and employment, what the country is going through today, about how much of threat we are facing from our neighboring country, and what we are going through at such a time. I think that needs to be addressed than talking about burqa ban and talking about all these things. And when it comes to security, Faye, I'm sure you will agree with me. Nobody has ever acted against frisking in the airports or any public place, if at all it is needed. I think the Muslim woman or any other woman for that matter, I think women in Rajasthan also cover their face, they wear the ghungat. And I think it's many celebrities, when they go out in public places, they don't want to reveal their identity. They cover their faces. It's a private right, and it's a fundamental right of our country, and that you allow people to wear what they want.
Okay, Geeta Bhatt, political analyst, would you tell us where you stand on this matter, Ms. Bhatt?
Yeah, Faye, see, as far as the, burqa ban per se is being talked about, I think it is too far-fetched. But having said that, we also cannot, shy away from accepting that burqa has been many a time misused, for terror activities. Not to forget that once Osama bin Laden, he used a burqa to flee away from Afghanistan. Also, in 2015 in Cameroon, there was a very massive terror attack which was carried out by terrorists wearing a burqa. It happened in Afghanistan in 2017 when a Shia mosque, it was attacked by burqa-clad terrorists, and when they went inside, more than 40 people, they killed by using, hand grenades and things like that. Even in October 2018 in Jammu and Kashmir, in Shopian, they did, just give me 30 seconds, Faye. So, there also in fact, they killed one policeman. They were wearing burqas. They went inside the police station and, they did their terror activity. So, this is also a reality that burqa has been used at many a place across the world, and there are
that is true. Other things that have been misused by terrorists, Ms. Bhatt, cars, cell phones, aeroplanes, fishing boats, jeeps, trains, foot over bridges, all been misused by terrorists in the past. We can't ban all of these things.
Faye, I agree with you. I agree, Faye. I agree with you. I agree. In fact, you know, when in 2001, when 9/11 happened, I mean, I don't think America could have ever thought in its wildest dreams that a terror attack could take place in such a way on Twin Towers using aeroplanes. So the point is that, you know, this whole terror mechanism, the kind of terror attacks which takes place, they keep on evolving. They are not static per se. So while this is the case, I think as far as, you know, I mean, if we have to look it in the perspective of what happened in Sri Lanka, so the kind of decision their government has taken, the national security has to take a precedent
Okay,
over,
let me tell you one more thing. Okay, fair enough, Geeta, but fair enough. All right.
Considering
What happened in Sri Lanka happened because of a failure of intelligence, and that Prime Minister was on this channel less than 5 minutes ago accepting a failure of intelligence. It didn't happen because women were wearing burqas in Sri Lanka. In fact, the people who walked into those churches were men carrying backpacks. If there was someone in a burqa who walked into a church, that person would have received special attention. But that was not the case. Secondly, it doesn't happen in India, or it hasn't happened in India because of intelligence, and because intelligence has managed to stay on top of the situation. In Mumbai, we had a terrible attack in 2008. After that, we haven't had a single attack because of intelligence, not because women have stopped wearing veils. There has to be some sort of logic to what the Shiv Sena is asking for. This is political grandstanding for an election. Let's be honest about it. We are not any safer or less or more at danger because women are wearing scarves. Then let's consider the women in Rajasthan who wear the ghungat. Let's consider the girls in Pune who go to college covering their faces entirely to keep out the sun. It's all the same thing. You want to ban it all, Ms. Bhatt?
Not at all. I think I totally agree with what you are saying. But if you try to look at it with the perspective, there are two issues here. One issue is when when you're trying to compare it with respect to to the issue of national security, and the other is considering it as social practice. Now there, I think it is important to consider that burqa. There has been a patriarchal mindset which is there across the communities. However, the Muslim women, we have seen time and again that within the community, there has been a kind of a social pressure where women have to, kind of concede to, putting a veil across their face. So this should be an individual's decision whether they want to wear it or they don't want to wear it. However, the community needs to introspect to look at it in terms of a practice.
Okay, fair enough. All right, allow me to respond. Geeta, but I think I think you have a very valid point. I think you have a very valid point. I also think it's very interesting how you changed gears from national security into some sort of social practice. I personally believe that nobody should be allowed to tell a woman what she can and cannot wear, whether that person is their religious leaders or whether that person is their family members. Even if it is some auntie in a mall who believes that if you wear short skirts that you will be raped, nobody has the right to tell a woman what she can and cannot wear. On that point, I completely agree with you. I also agree with you, at the end of the day, it should be left up to the woman in question whether she wants to wear a burqa or a hijab, whether she wants to wear a ghungat, whether she wants to wear a dupatta with her salwar kameez, or she wants to wear a swimsuit. At the end of the day, it should be left to that woman. Dr. Zeenat Shaukat Ali is with the World Institute of Islamic Studies. Dr. Shaukat Ali, what's your opinion on this matter? My worry here, and I agree with Geeta Bhatt that there is a larger sociological conversation to be had. My worry here is that the matter is being misused for political grandstanding before an election. Go ahead.
Yes, yes, Faye, I think I agree with you that at this particular point of time, this could be, a political matter. And also, you see, we have seen in the past few years, there has been a polarization and a kind of a, what you call, a nationalism, that a muscular nationalism that has been spoken about, where Muslims have been marginalized and Muslims have been taken the brunt of things like love jihad and Gaur Rakshak and Ghar Wapasi. They have, and it has been an unrelenting kind of a lash that they have faced. Now coming to, the problem about this burqa, I think that, I think the Sri Lankan government, to start off with, has taken a very correct decision that for the time being they have completely banned it, removed it, and it is temporary, it is not a permanent factor. They have taken precautions, and this is a precautionary means because 303, around 300 people have been dead. And in India also, when we face problems and there are security issues involved, I think the security of Indians, any Indian cannot be compromised with. And as far as that is concerned, as you have rightly pointed out, there are malls, there are, at airports, there are security, there is frisking, and Muslim women cooperate and should cooperate. And I think that has been the general standing, and that should continue to be so. And the Shiv Senas or the BJPs or any political party cannot tell women what they should and what they should not wear. We are living in a liberal democracy. A liberal secular democracy doesn't tell women what they should wear. It should be a matter of their personal choice. Now, having said that, I would like to say yes, that I agree with you, there has to be a wider kind of a debate and a wider understanding and a sort of an education that first of all this word burqa does not exist in the Quran. The word burqa is nowhere mentioned in the Quran. That's my point number one. Point number two, that there was, this is a cultural practice, there was a culture, Islam was not born in a vacuum. There was a society, there was a system, there was a culture in which there were kinds of dresses that were worn, Faye, and two of those have been named. One is called a khimar and one is called a jilbab. A jilbab was a kind of a gown, a loose gown, or like a jacket or a coat that one wears, and this was worn by the upper class women. And there was also, a khimar, which was a kind of a loose veil, which was thrown from the back of the head, but the front portion was generally bare. I am telling you what scholars have said and what is my personal research. And therefore, you see, so there was a differentiation.
Right.
Once you were a woman of some standing, you were supposed to put on, this kind of a jilbab.
No, Miss Ali, the question at the end of the day, is linking it to national security. And I'm going to take this question to Kumar Aka, who's a defense expert. Mr. Aka, the connection between national security and being able to identify the faces of women, I mean, it begs to also argue helmets, for example, fully covered helmets where you can't see the person's face, scarves where you can't see the person's face, shades or scarves being used to protect you from the sun where you can't see the person's face. Anyone who lives in Pune or Bangalore knows what I'm talking about. Does this look to you as valid, or is this just election propaganda?
I think it is more of an election propaganda. It was a deliberate political statement, It is going to polarize, attempt is to polarize the society. It's a political decision, I think they have taken, We have a secular setup in India, and our secular democracy is different from the European secularism. In Europe, the secularism means anti-religion, whereas in India, we have the right, to not only observe religion, but celebrate it publicly, like Diwali, Dasara, or Ganesh Chaturthi, or Muharram processions are being taken out on the street. So we have total freedom, in this country. In our secularism, the government is secular, whereas the people are religious. And in this country, the minorities has maximum constitutional guarantees, So this is, I don't think it fits into this, We have been in India, people have been wearing burqa for centuries, Yes, there is a problem, the security threat at times comes up, So security should be given free hand to deal if a situation comes to like this, I fully agree what other panelists has said, As far as the religion is concerned, there is... Professor Zeenat has mentioned, there is no such burqa prescribed for the Muslim women in the country, but it's a social practice which is age-old tradition that is continuing, and it would be very difficult to ban it, because Muslim society is is quite large number of Muslim women are quite backward. They are not very well educated also, and quite conservative, And then secondly, you know, the grip over the religion, mullah's grip over the religion is very strong, you know. It will create big problem for the Muslim, particularly the liberal Muslims who have been demanding change in social changes, you know, within the Muslim society. Major problem will come for them, you know. It will lead to more conservatism, you know, and extremism if it is banned. So therefore, I believe, you know, that we have a society where this practice is going on for centuries, you know, let it go like this. And gradually, you know, there is education deficit among Muslims, and particularly among Muslim women, you know. So gradually, you know, the number of burqas, if you see in 50s and 60s or 70s, are successfully declining. A lot of people, women are now working, going to offices, working different places. They've moved on to hijab, and many of them have left hijab also. But you know, on the other hand, there are crises within Muslim society, and this is global. So a lot of young girls are wearing hijab, you know, in protest also.
Yes.
They want to show their Muslim identity. I think it's a temporary phenomena. It will go with the time. It will go with the development. So
Well,
we'll have
you
to
know,
wait, you know.
that's a valid
Banning
question,
burqa is
and
no solution.
If I may, take that question to Fatima Muzaffar. Ms. Muzaffar, Geeta Bhatt also raised the same question. It's valid. This is, at the end of the day, a symbol of patriarchy. It is a symbol, it is seen as a symbol of oppression to women, because men don't have to wear it. It's as simple as that. Why do women have to wear it? Men don't have to wear it. A lot of times, there is the argument that women are being forced to wear it or made to believe that it's important they wear it. Shouldn't there be a movement to move or to sort of bring the community out of this oppression?
I don't see it as a symbol of oppression, Faye. Let me first tell you, I feel, because I wear the hijab, as Zeenat said, it's not, there's the word burqa or hijab doesn't come anywhere in the Quran. But the Surah Nur, chapter 24, verse 31, very clearly says, ask the believing women to cover themselves and let them not be done injustice upon. So this is the main reason that the Quran asks the women to cover themselves. But let me also make it very clear, nowhere in the Quran has it ever been said that if you don't wear a hijab or you don't cover yourself, you are not a believing woman or you will be punished. And nowhere in the Quran it has ever said that you can force anybody, whether it's male or female, la ikraha fid din. That's the exact Arabic word which says there is absolutely no compulsion in this religion. Anything and everything you do in Islam should be by your free will. Even for a woman to marry, if she is forced to marry, Prophet Muhammad has called that marriage null and void. When a woman came to him and said, I was forced into the marriage, he said, if you are forced, then you have all liberty to cancel this marriage. So when that is the right given to a Muslim woman in Islam, how can anybody say that the women are being forced to wear? Of course, I agree with my fellow panelists. There's lack of education, there's so much of poverty and unemployment, and this backwardness is the reason that it is being made to believe that the men are dominating the women. As such, the Muslim women are very strong, believe me. I work in the grassroots and I know how she manages, even amidst all this backwardness, she's living a happy life in this country, proudly calling herself as an Indian. And I'm really, worried where this country is being led to, especially when at a very crucial time when we are facing to elect the next government. What atrocity is this that you don't talk about developmental issues, you don't talk about security, especially for the women of India, not as a Muslim, I'm talking as a woman of India. You don't talk about the security of the women of India, you don't talk about saving the girl child, you don't talk about empowering them educationally, empowering them economically, and you only get an issue to talk about a burqa, a dress, which is, I think, is really stupid for leaders, members belonging to the parliament who have been parliamentarians of Shiv Sena, who are members of a ruling party of the government of BJP.
Okay. Let's now hang on. Let's get a rebuttal. Geeta Bhatt, do you want to respond to that?
Well, Faye, see, the point is that what ma'am has just mentioned is something which is agreeable. There are a few points that I would like to add on it is, of course, I totally agree to her point that, there are, whether they are the, Muslim women or Hindu women, they all, as the citizens of India, as a part of this democratic, this largest democracy in the world, we are very much a part of agreeing to what is there in our constitution. However, there are, again I would like to bring forth is that there are certain social practices, like especially with the background of triple talaq and halala, in which the women of the community, they have been subjected to very obscurantist practices, very medieval practices. So what is important here is that if we try to look at it socially, it is important that the voice has to come from within the community. People from outside can speak a lot about it or point towards it, but any kind of a reform that has to come from within the community. And I think one thing that lagged, if we try to look in our modern history, in the last 300 years or 200 years, there were no social reformers which were there within the community, and because of which there is a large section which is lacking behind as far as integrating them with the mainstream of the country is there. So that is one issue which of course is a broader issue, but this part, whether we are talking of the wearing of a burqa or whether there are other type of practices, it is important that that empowerment, the Muslim women actually have to stand. For example, in the case of triple talaq also, it was actually like micro mutinies where common Muslim women, they came out and they went to the judiciary and asked for justice. So
Okay.
these kind of movements
absolutely,
within the community are very important and are required actually for their empowerment.
Okay, Geeta, but I would like to stay on point, because the thing that we're discussing here, of course, is the Shiv Sena suggesting that a burqa ban is in general interest of national security. Now, when it comes to the rights of Muslim women should be encouraged to approach the courts for any of their rights, and they should know, well, there are so many of us who will stand with them in every single one of those battles. Mr. Chokle is on the phone line from Mumbai. Mr. Chokle, go ahead.
Good evening, madam, and
evening.
good evening to all.
Yes.
Yes, yeah. I would like to remind everyone here that the former Prime Minister of India, Mr. Rajiv Gandhi, was blown up by a woman.
Yes.
Was she wearing a burqa?
No, she was not. Yes.
My question, somebody should answer. Is that burqa to be blamed for that? And there are so many times suicide bombers, whether they were male or female, they were wearing burqa or they were wearing covers that they could not be detected. The very fact that India itself informed Sri Lanka that there is going to be a problem like this, they slept over it.
Yes.
They slept over it, and that's
Yes.
why this has happened. So it is plain, I would say, gimmick by Shiv Sena to talk about banning burqa. This is nothing but instigating.
Yes.
I am bringing in something which is not called for, and they have been good for nothing.
Okay.
And that's what.
Okay, all right. Bhaskar on the phone line from Belgavi. Go ahead.
Yeah,
right,
basically believe in just equal rights to each and every person in India. So this is basically Hindustan, where Hindutva is really believe in giving rights to each and every person, no matter be it Hindu or Muslim or any other religion for that matter. So when it comes to religion and especially women, let's look at the micro level where a woman wants to really wear a burqa, and we basically avoid making women wear a burqa. So that shouldn't really happen. So every woman should really be given rights and freedom. So in that regard, if you try to politicize such things where religion and politics go together, it really doesn't look good, and that's not real India. So I think women should really be given good freedom, and
Yes, Bhaskar Balwari from Bangalore, thank you so much for making that call, and I completely agree with you. Women should be given complete freedom to choose to wear whatever they want to wear, and they shouldn't be told by anyone what's okay and what's not okay. Mr. Vora, you were former DGP of Tripura. do you believe at this at any point at all, and you know, we had Geeta Bhatt talk about how there are some customs perhaps that are keeping the community from you know, accessing progress, and you must have some sort of social reform. That conversation, of course, is a long-term conversation in comparison to the social security or the national security conversation we're having today. Again, should those in charge of our national security be very clear about what's a threat and what's not a threat?
Firstly, about the social reforms, yes, they must be there, they must come from within. From the national security point of view, Burqa, yes, but not at the cost of the national security. Now, talking of Shiv Sena, going back to that, I am really pained that they came out with this kind of an editorial. I think it's an attempt to polarization, and as I said in the beginning, they should be banned, the publication should be banned till the elections are over. And of course, these women are cooperating, and wherever needed, if need be, some tough measures should be taken. But there's a lot to do on the social front, the triple talaq, the halala, a lot of it has been done, and I think, to me, it seems to a very good trend that of late now, the Muslim women have started coming forward about their issues, whether it's about triple talaq, whether it's about nikah halala, or whether it's about entry into mosques, and all that is there. So I think that all of us should encourage them and see the reforms, because if you look around in other countries, they are much more advanced, so to say, in these matters. And I think women need much more emancipation what they have at the moment.
Okay, so let me bring in Fatima Muzaffar to respond to that, and then we have someone else on the phone line. Fatima, go ahead.
Yeah, Faye. I want to correct my fellow panelists that triple talaq is not an issue for the Muslim women of India, please. As the government has portrayed it with the Muslim Women Protection of Marriage Rights Act, we, the All India Muslim Personal Law Board, the Women's Wing, have led more than 200 rallies across India.
But there have been
silent
cases
protest
reported,
rallies that
Ms. Muzaffar,
is expressing very clearly that triple talaq is not the issue which is bothering us. What is really bothering us is the insecurity we are facing, the mob lynching we are facing, you know, the way of the communal hatred is being spread in the name of beef ban, in the name of Muslim called as jihadists and as terrorists, and the way we are being attacked. That is the real issue. We want to be on par with fellow Indians. Please, don't have a soft target for Muslims and use the Muslim women to bring up political issues, which is not our concern. Triple talaq and halala is a very, very minimal issue. Believe me, Faye, what we are really going through today is a hatred being put in young minds, is a radicalization happening, is a polarization, is a right-wing politics being put into young minds and being made to believe. We are not victims of triple talaq, please. We have enough surveys with us. Through RTI, we have taken surveys from 16 states of India. The All India Muslim Personal Law Board Women's Wing, through its Mahila Research Foundation, has found that amongst all other population, other religious populations in India, the most least divorces happening is amongst the Muslims. And this is the RTI valid documents that we have in our hand. As the BJP government portrayed it to distract the attention of the country and brought up triple talaq as if it's a life-going thing, as if that is what we really want to. I really don't understand.
Well,
please don't use the Muslim women as
Cannot
soft
be
targets
accepted.
and distract us.
No, one
please.
second.
Yeah,
Zeenat,
may I come in, please?
yes,
May I come
one
in?
second.
It's-
Zinat Ali,
you are-
one second. Let me allow
absolutely
everybody an
wrong.
opportunity to speak, Ms. Muzaffar.
Yes.
Zinat Ali disagrees with you.
It's her liberty.
Ms. Ali, go ahead. Dr. Ali, go ahead. Dr. Ali will speak now.
I'm sorry that I cannot agree with Fatima.
May I come in, please?
I cannot agree with Fatima
you're at
at all
liberty
on
not
this
to
aspect.
agree.
Triple talaq is very much part of an anti-religion. It is anti-Islamic, anti-Quranic,
That's why you
and
could not pass it in the Rajya
anti-constitutional.
Sabha.
And this
That's
reform,
why
what
the
you're
government
talking
could not
about,
pass it in the Rajya
reform
Sabha and
should-
brought it as
reform
a
No, one
extraordinary
second. Miss
I don't
Muzaffar,
want to be
do not interrupt the panelists. You've had your say.
interrupted.
I will have to moderate your mic if you do not allow Dr. Ali to speak. Allow her to speak. We've heard you out. Now let's hear her out. Dr. Ali, please go ahead.
Yeah, and you see, triple talaq is anti-Quranic. For 70 years was the Muslim Personal Law Board and the Muslims sleeping over this issue. Why didn't they take they had the ample opportunity when women did go to them. And when women pleaded with them, they always were very patriarchal and misogynistic in their point of view, which Islam is not. So let us not confuse Islam and Muslim men and Indian society and the rules that they have made. The banning and the removal of the triple talaq is a very Islamic act. 22 Muslim countries have done the same.
Actually,
and India, being a secular democracy, should have done it long ago.
I just want to, yes, Ms. Ali, we might get, fair enough, but I just want to bring this back to the conversation we're having today. And at the end of the day, somehow, whether we're talking about national security or empowerment, it always comes down to somebody telling women what to do and how to live our lives. Either the skirts are too short or the burqas are too long. Mrs. Behrouz on the phone line from Mumbai. Mr. Bora, I'll come to you immediately after this to respond to what Mrs. Behrouz is saying. Go ahead, ma'am.
Hi, Faye. I'm Behrouz.
Yes.
Today, you know, the auntie in the mall who told that girl that she would get raped if she dressed up that way. How well you brought it in your very, very heavy topic today. You put that line in. And social media went crazy. Even me at 71, I was very annoyed. Now, use the same yardstick. If you allow her to dress up the way she wants, the Muslim lady should dress up the way she wants. The government has to find ways to stop the, security and all, or to find. Does the person who will ask them to remove the face, is the bomb on the face? It is on the body. Does the police have an equipment to check that? The best thing would be that you can request them that if we want to check you, produce your Aadhaar card. That would be the best thing. There's no need to take out the veil. If you stop this auntie and Twitter and all went crazy, the same thing, this lady should not be told to dress up in a particular way or remove the veil. So I'm no political party, but I feel what is good for this has to be, and it happened today, and how well you brought it up in the topic. And there's the auntie on the screen, and people went berserk. Now nobody is going berserk when they're telling them remove the veil.
Absolutely. I completely agree with you, Mr. Lang. At the end of the day, somehow people are always telling women what to do. But I do want to clear this up for our audience. And I'm getting messages from people saying, why are you paying attention to this sort of thing? I'll tell you why. Because the motive behind making a statement like the Shiv Sena has made is to plant a seed of doubt in your head. To plant a seed of doubt, like, oh, is that true? Are burqas in fact a threat to national security? Can the police not check a woman who is in a burqa? Do they have to let her go past airport security without checking her? We're having this conversation to bust those myths, to bust any thought that might be in your head about whether or not it's a threat to national security. Now, whether it is regressive or what we should be doing from a social community justice point of view, that is a separate conversation that must be had. But that's not a conversation for tonight. P.L. Vora is the former DGP of Tripura. Mr. Vora, it is important for our audience to understand that when the police decides to check a woman, any woman at all, including me, if I'm driving home tonight, they need to have a female constable present with them. And only under those circumstances can they check a woman. And when there's a female constable present, she can check you if you're wearing a burqa or you're not wearing a burqa, because there's a comfort level there and that doesn't break any religious rules. So to argue at all that women wearing veils or burqas cannot be checked by the police would be false. Is that not true, Mr. Vora?
Ideally there should be a woman, but point is when it comes to a question of identity, without touching the body of the woman, if she is asked to raise the veil and show the face for identification purposes, I think it is no harm done, and it must be done within the limits of decency. But two more points I wanted to make. One was this, one panelist was saying that there's too much of harassment and persecution of Muslim women and all that. So I think that that narrative was far too much. I think it crossed the limits. Yes, there are fringe elements in India who do talk of these things, but by and large, the whole of India, I think, treats all the Muslim women with respect, the Muslim community with respect. So fringe elements are there, and they must be dealt with seriously. Now,
Mr. Vora, fringe elements are being given tickets for Lok Sabha elections now. So unfortunately, the fringe is now mainstream. They're getting
It's
tickets
bad,
to
it's
contest
bad.
elections.
But then
yes.
everybody is giving. Congress has been giving. Congress. See, the point is why Congress also gave tickets to 84 Sikh riot
I agree with you.
criminals,
I agree
Sajjan
with
Kumar and all. I mean, everybody is doing the same. I am not condoning that at all. I am not condoning that at all. It must not be given by anyone. And I was again coming back to, because at this juncture the whole issue arose because of Shiv Sena. It is condemnable, and I would say that even though they have retracted, this, at least as a punishment, the publication of Samna should be banned till elections are over. This is what I said earlier, I repeat it now.
Absolutely. In fact, I just have to close this conversation, but I want to thank our panelists for giving us their time this evening. And in conclusion, if we consider both of the comments that were made and pointed out by our, quite rightly, if you consider both of the comments that were made in the last 24 hours, one suggested that Indian women should not be allowed to wear burqas. This came from Shiv Sena MP Sanjay Raut. The other one suggested that women should not be allowed to wear short skirts because they're inviting rape. At the end of the day, the one common thread between both of this is telling women how to live their lives. At the end, it's about pro-choice. Women should be allowed to wear whatever they want to wear. To suggest that a woman or a girl will be raped because of what she's wearing is to suggest that all men are animals and they have no logic or intelligence to override their urges, which is not true. Men are not animals. To also suggest that girls will be raped because of what they're wearing will suggest that women who are wearing saris and burqas and little children don't get raped, which is also not true. When you suggest that someone's clothes invite rape, what you're doing is giving a free chit to rapists, and you're making excuses for them. It is not okay. On the other hand, to suggest that burqas are a threat to national security, for heaven's sake. National security is protected by intelligence, by sharp officers who pick up information on the ground. And for what it's worth, women in burqas are checked every day outside malls, outside movie theaters, and at airports, and whenever needed by the police. This is a bogey, and this is election political grandstanding. As citizens and as members of society, we have to protect ourselves from both these ideas, because both of these ideas are anti-women and they're pro-criminal. Thanks for watching.